Your Tamworth Trailblazers. We've got a special treat for you. We've got an interview coming up with Daniel Nash, a local Tamworth celebrity, and he's done a lot of work in the running space in Tamworth and surrounds. And he's got some very interesting ideas on training, and we can't wait to hear from him. So, without further ado, let's listen to Daniel Nash. Alrighty, Trailblazers. Tonight we've got a bit of a special for you. We've got the one and the only Daniel Nash coming in for a bit of a chat with Abby and myself, the Trailblazer team. Nashy, thanks for joining us from Homebush, I believe, tonight.
Yeah, little trip down to Homebush for the day. It's pretty cool.
You and I were only running this morning. I didn't even know. There's just
Yeah.
no communication left in our relationship anymore.
I'm glad I saw you because I actually completely forgot about this. So it was good that I ran into you this morning.
Oh, that's gold. Okay, so young man, you and I've known each other for some years now. I think it kicked off mainly from triathlons, I think, initially, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I maybe saw you once or twice as a physio when I was playing tennis, but definitely we got to know each other a lot better when I started triathlon.
Yeah. And in fact, you know what I'm going to say? My favorite finish line photograph of all time is when we finished the port half.
Yeah,
And
definitely. Mine too.
for some stupid reason, we decided we'd have a sprint in the last 400-500 meters and just killed each other. It was hilarious.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I do remember you telling me though at the end that I should not have been able to sprint at the end of a half Ironman, and I've kind of lived by that since. So it was good advice.
I sort of went into coach mode. For those that are watching this, full disclosure, I was only running for a team in the half Ironman. You were doing the entire race. So, and you'd had a shocker. You'd had a couple of punctures, I think. You'd had to run pushing your bike. Like
Yeah,
it was not a good day.
burnt my feet, got blisters. Yeah, it wasn't fun, but it finished good.
It was a good finish. So mate, what happened about transitioning a bit from triathlon to, the trail running and running in general? How did that go about?
I guess when I switched to triathlon, running was probably my weakness. And I had a few pretty good years in triathlon where I was close to making World Ironman champs a couple of times, and I guess I felt that my weakness was the run. And I kind of had some goals that I wanted to tick off in running, and I felt like that was a good opportunity to go and become a better runner. And I guess I've really enjoyed running solo since, and swimming and cycling have kind of taken a back seat, and just a bit of cross training now. And I still haven't really ticked those goals off in running, so hopefully soon, and I'll be back to triathlon. But yeah, definitely, I would say that running's now my favourite of the three. Anyway,
You better make sure your dad doesn't watch this because he might take offense.
yeah, no, definitely, he's got a cycling background and a swimming background, so running's probably not his thing either, and that's probably where I got it from, and probably why it's not my strength.
Mate, that's brilliant. So what took you to doing our Trailblazer in 2018? What made you think it was a good idea?
Obviously, it's a local event, and anytime you can race locally is a massive win. I think having a race 1 kilometre from the CBD, a trail run 1 kilometre from our main street is unreal, and it's obviously a massive advantage to be able to do those races at home. So I obviously love any time I can race in Tamworth, and yeah, I'm not going to let that opportunity slide.
Had you done much trail running before that?
I don't think so. I think I did Rafferty's Resort Trail Run, maybe the odd training run with you, but I hadn't done a lot of trail running races.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, as a first kind of trail run, that is a brutal race to do as your first. I mean, 45 Ks, you climb about 2,800 meters. Like that's a fair bit of vert in a short space of time.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
mate, I was looking back at the time, you absolutely smashed it. You did under 9 hours, which is awesome. 8:46, I think, roughly was your closing time, which was good.
Yeah, I do remember that day. I was just steady the whole day. I think I was training for an Ironman actually, and I had a really big ride the day before. And as much as that probably I had a lot of fatigue, it was probably a good thing. It slowed me down and kind of made me take the race steady. And I remember that probably being one of my most enjoyable Trailblazer races. Um, Not my quickest, but definitely one of the more steady ones and most consistent effort across.
Can't honestly say I've ever come across anybody that's done a long ride the day before a decently intense trail run. That's
Yeah,
either really good planning or really bad planning. I'm not too sure where that lands.
yeah, I'm not too sure what I was thinking. I think Dad was just keen to go for a ride, and there's a loop called Echo Hills around Tamworth, and it's not very often you get to do it. So I took the opportunity that day, and we went out for a pretty long bike ride. And I was kind of thinking the whole day I've got to race Trailblazer tomorrow, but it was fine. It was good.
Was that the year it was really hot?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been hot every year. Have we had a cold year?
Actually, last year wasn't too bad. I've got to be honest with you. Last
Yeah,
year wasn't too bad. I think because we started inside daylight savings, so starting that kind of hour earlier, we started a bit in the dark, but it meant that at least it wasn't as warm. So that I think made a big difference.
yeah.
Um, if you were giving advice to somebody going to do Trailblazer, and people may not know, but I mean, you help coach people as well as compete. From I guess, a coach and an athlete perspective, what would be your tips for somebody who's thinking about doing Trailblazer? What are some of the key aspects in their training they'd want to make sure they don't skip?
I think probably the biggest thing for me is being really aware of your effort and what you're capable over time. Trailblazer, it's one of those. It's really hard to go into with a pace goal. It's not like a road marathon or half marathon where you can go in and say, "I'm going to run 5 minute pace, 6 minute pace today." With the terrain kind of changing constantly, you're not going to hit those paces or stay at paces. So I think whether it's perceived effort or knowing your heart rate, I think probably the biggest thing is knowing what you can handle effort wise for a certain amount of time and taking that into the race and sticking to it. That was probably for the 60K. I kind of had that goal of I'm not sure whether it was too much or not enough, but I kind of sat around that 150 heart rate all day because I felt like that's what I could kind of sustain for 9, 10 hours. And I think that worked pretty well for me. Maybe I could have gone a little bit harder, but yeah, I would say race to effort, not kind of a time or pace goal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if you overcook it, you're not going to finish, or you're going to have a really bad day, or a bit of both. So,
Yeah,
no,
and
that's
I
actually
mean, I'm not too sure what my average pace across all distances that I've raced is. Maybe somewhere between 7 minute from the 15 to 10 minutes for the 60. But you're not going to run 7 minute pace the whole way on that course. Like there's sections where you're going to be running 4:30, and there's sections where you're going to be doing 12, 13 minute pace. So I think a lot of people going, I want to average sort of 7 minute pace, but that's you're not going to run 7 minute pace that whole run.
It actually makes sense because I mean, how many road marathoners have we seen come up and do that race, and they enter the 45 because they think it's only 3Ks more than a road marathon, and they because it's 3 laps, they do that first lap, at that road marathon kind of pace, and they just disintegrate by the time they get to the second and the third lap.
Yeah, and it's not comparable to anything else. So it's really hard to know a race. You can't really compare to anything around here too much. So it's hard to know exactly how to approach it. So I think effort is the best kind of approach.
Yeah, that's good. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why we encourage or we try to make sure people do the 45 before they do the 60, just so they get to know the course because I've done a few trail runs around Australia. I haven't seen too many that smack you in the face quite like this one does.
No, definitely. It's never really the same in any spot throughout the whole loop.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's kind of like the ADHD of trail running. It's kind of just varies and mixes it up every 20 meters.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, mate. So getting back to like triathlon, um, how many Ironmen have you had a crack at? How many have you done?
I've done three Ironman. Yeah.
Were the Ironmen all at port or?
I've done one in Port and two in Bustleton.
Yeah, right. What was the attraction in Bustleton for you?
I thought the flatter course would suit me a little bit better,
Yep.
mainly in the run. Um, but I think also it probably I think flat courses they're not always ideal. You kind of get stuck in the pattern of running the exact same way the whole way, using the same muscles. Same on the bike. I think I kind of got into that trap, and that probably doesn't suit me either. So
Yeah.
if I was to go back, I'd probably look at something a little bit harder because I think those harder courses probably suit me more.
So you're thinking maybe something like Cairns or something like that that's got a bit of variety?
Yeah, just a bit more variety to mix it up and use different muscles throughout the bike, and yeah, I think I definitely race better on the bike and the run with varying sort of terrain.
Do you think that um, the half Ironman at Port kind of suits that then, with Matthew Flinders on the bike and that kind of jazz?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think Port's a really good race, and I think it's probably the one I could do well at with good training. It's just I've done the half there so many times. I got sick of it, and I didn't want to go back there for a while. And I was kind of keen to do some different races around. But I think when I'm ready to go back to triathlon, Port will probably be the race that I target.
Yeah. I mean, we did a few races there together with Tri Freedom, which was a really good group to do it with. I think if Tri Freedom hadn't have come along, I don't think I would have done as many as I did there because I sort of got a bit of course fatigue, I think,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
particularly on that run running through the suburbs. That was a bit much.
yeah, and it gets so hot out there as well. It's a great course sport and really good atmosphere when you're having a
Oh,
good day. But when you're not having a great day, that back section of the run is awful.
actually, the hill out of town beach and then coming back down. I used to brave getting to that part because it was like finally some sort of
Yeah,
vertical stuff.
yeah.
No, mate, that's good. So do you still ride a little bit and still swim a little bit, or do you don't sort of really have a lot of time for that at this stage?
Still trying to ride twice a week. Usually just one easier ride, and I was racing a little bit last year, but yeah, I try to ride twice a week. I've just gotten back in the pool, mainly because I'm having a few issues running at the moment, and just trying to break that load up a little bit. Um, but yeah, I think yeah, I still enjoy bike riding, but I just don't enjoy bike riding every day as much as I did.
Well, I was talking to one of your athletes, Jethro, this morning, and you still must put a decent amount of speed on the bike because you were leaving him for dead. He said the other day, which was good to hear.
Yeah, he got a little bit cheeky on Monday, Jethro. So I thought, well, I'll see how I could go. But yeah, I'm enjoying training with Jethro. He's really improved a lot in the last month. Really, he's definitely improved a lot. So it's exciting. And yeah, when I get back into triathlon, it's going to be cool to have someone like Jethro to train with.
Mate, he is a crackingly good young athlete, and doesn't he give everything 100%?
Yeah, definitely. But he's also got so much room for improvement, which is exciting. So yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's got to get a bit race savvy, I think, but that'll come with experience and time, I think, as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, so when you're doing trail runs, what kind of gear are we going to see you in? What are you wearing on your feet?
Um, Last few years I've worn New Balance. I think it's called the New Balance Hiro. I don't do a lot of trail racing, so I normally just get whatever shoes I can around the time, whatever's on the shelf. But I think it's called the New Balance Hiro I wore last year for Trailblazer, and I found it fine. Tarkine Devils is another shoe that I've worn at Trailblazer. I think the 60 I might have even worn like a road shoe at some point, like a Hoka Bondi. It's probably not ideal, but I think you're not moving very fast across those 45 and 60k races, so I think they're fine. But yeah, for the shorter distances, I've went towards that New Balance shoe.
Right, and that's a dedicated trail shoe with a bit of grip on it.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Yeah,
And what about the rest of your gear? You're a shorts guy or a tights guy or shorts with
uh,
tights?
you, usually shorts. I was always used to be a singlet guy, but I found a lot of races I was getting sunburnt, and I think that was affecting my race. So I've sort of gone back to t-shirts when I'm racing, for a bit more sun protection. Um, yeah, I try to keep it pretty minimal on gear. I'm not a big. I like to be comfortable and not have a lot on me. So I've kind of even gone to one of those nerd belts over the last few years at Trailblazer, just to free up a little bit and feel a bit looser.
Look, and not only that, but I mean, it allows your back to sort of perspire freely rather than having a something on your back that's keeping you hot, basically.
Yeah, and I don't do a lot of trail training. I think for Trailblazer, I've kind of done a lot of road and then finished the runs with a quick trail. over the last few years, so I don't often have the gear on me. And I think wearing packs, they're great, but if you're not doing it all the time, it's not really comfortable over 9-10 hours. The beauty of Trailblazer too is being a 4 lap course is you get to go back to the start. So I wear that nerd belt, which carries all the mandatory gear, but I can reload every sort of 15k 2 hours, which is good.
And look, you've got checkpoints about every 3Ks at the max, so
Yeah,
you're not going to run out in a hurry.
yeah.
No, that's good. Now, last year, you very kindly helped me get a ticket for the Sydney Marathon, and you very unkindly beat me by about 2 or 3 hours or something crazy. How did that race go for you? Because that was a pretty good time. Were you sort of, happy with your effort there?
To be honest, like I feel like that result didn't really replicate the kind of effort I put in over the last few years.
Yep.
Obviously, I've got a time goal for a marathon of running sort of that 2 hours 54, 2 hours 56, and I've been well off that the last few marathons. Um, I hate making excuses, but my body probably hasn't been the best it could be over the last 18 months. And both of the last 2 marathons I've done, I have actually been sick the week leading in. But I've kind of come to realize that's not an excuse when you're racing. Like your body doesn't just get sick, you know, by fluke. It happens for a reason. And I've probably overtrained a little bit or gone into those races with too much sort of stress. And yeah, so although I'm happy, like they're PBs, and you have to be happy with a personal best any day of the week, but I don't think it really reflects the training that I've done the last few years. So I was disappointed after Sydney, but yeah, it's a PB.
That doesn't surprise me. I was really impressed with your time, but I know that wasn't the goal that you had in mind. Um, but there's plenty more marathons and plenty more times to beat, so I'm sure you'll do okay there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I did a fairly big workout about 4 weeks before Sydney Marathon last year that like was pretty good, and I thought like my goal going into it was a lot higher than what sort of happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, getting that taper right it can be really tricky.
Yeah, definitely. I put a lot of work into it over the last few months, so I'm hoping the next race I can kind of show that and yeah, get that result that I've been after for a while.
Which brings me to my next question. What is that next race?
Canberra Marathon. Or actually, probably Trailblazer. Will be my next race. Not too sure of the distance I'm racing at Trailblazer yet, but yeah, Trailblazer will be the next. Actually, it's not even Trailblazer; it's Armidale Running Festival in
Oh,
a few weeks.
cool.
But then
What
Trailblazer.
dis- what distance you going to do in Armidale, do you think?
I'd like to do the half, but I'll just see how I'm going. Sort of
Sure.
pretty close to the date, but yeah, the 10 or the half.
Nice. And then when's Canberra Marathon? Is that April?
12th of April. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Have you checked out the profile on that course? What's that look like for you?
I think it's actually pretty hilly. I don't like. I'm not too sure what the exact elevation of Sydney was. Maybe like two something.
Yeah.
And Canberra's about 400. So I actually found I'm not. A lot of people don't agree, but I find Sydney quite hilly. So yeah, Canberra could be even hillier.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of those courses, I think they come with a lot of downhill if they are hilly though. So I don't mind running downhill, which will be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Sydney, I can't remember the number either, but it surprised me a little bit um, at some aspects where there was a little bit of hill. I mean, it's been ages since I've lived in Sydney, and those eastern suburbs, I kind of probably forgot what sort of hill there was. But anyway, you're right. It is
Yeah,
what it is. Yeah.
I think being
Canberra's
slightly off
flat.
in Sydney too, you can be like 5 seconds a k off what you want to be, and it can make the race so much more uncomfortable as well on those hills. Where if I was running maybe 5 seconds quicker per k, some of those hills you kind of just float over. It makes the race a whole lot easier. So I probably found Sydney a little bit harder last year than it probably was.
Needed to be, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. How did you go with the checkpoints in Sydney, like the drink stations and stuff?
Yeah, not too bad. I heard a lot of people struggled, but I actually had a really clean run at Sydney and felt like I ran the perfect line the whole race. So yeah, I got very lucky there with where I started, and I think I started at the front of one of the groups, and there was obviously some very quick people in front, and then I just happened to get lucky with that. So I had a pretty good run at Sydney with that.
Yeah, I did my usual trick. I actually carried a little bit, so I didn't have to worry about the first two checkpoints. Like not a huge amount, but just so I didn't have to worry about it. And then by the time the crowd thinned and I got to the third or fourth checkpoint, I had a clean run. So um, I do that for Gold Coast because Gold Coast gets pretty chockers in the first couple of Ks for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
What so we've talked about gear. What about nutrition? What do you use to fuel in your races, whether it be a marathon or trail or whatever? What do you tend to go for?
For marathon, I just normally stick to gels. I
Yep.
don't have a problem with gels. Now that I've found a good gel in precision, I've kind of stuck with that, and I think that's fine. Um, Trailblazer, I don't really care, to be honest. I just get whatever I can in my mouth. Lollies, like over the 60, I'm running slow enough that I felt like I could take on some whole foods in bananas at checkpoints and that. So I'll just, depending on the distance of the race, if it's shorter, I sort of the 15K, I think I stuck to a gel, a little bit of Coke, and water. But the 60, whatever I could take, I was eating lollies, Coke, Gatorade, like whatever. I think thankfully that race is, well, not thankfully, but that race is kind of like hard enough that you're running slow enough. I don't think there's a lot of gut issues to be had. If that makes sense.
Yeah, just feed me calories.
Yeah, just get it in.
One of the people we've talked to was trying to get me to have a dehydrated banana.
Yeah, right.
That Google it later. It's not a healthy looking thing. It might be healthy, but it doesn't look healthy.
Apparently, nerd clusters are the latest thing, and they work pretty well for the last. I tried them on a run. I can't remember where it was, but they worked well. They were good.
Nerd clusters.
Yeah, I haven't seen them for a while, but yeah, you can get them at Woolworths or Coles, and yeah, I think they're the equivalent to. I think it's like 5 little clusters is like the equivalent to a gel or something. So pretty handy on a trail race.
Cool, cool, cool. Don't mind that. All right, so after all this running, what has been one of your best moments? What's one of your memorable moments from the different races you've been in over the years?
I think it's hard to say why, but nothing really tops my first marathon in Sydney. I just had a really good day there, and it's definitely not my fastest, and I wasn't a great runner back then. But I just remember in the last 8 kilometers or so, a group of 15 people called up to me, and I was like, right, just jump on them and go, and it just worked, and I stuck with them to the finish and finished that race really strong. And I think I haven't really been able to replicate that feeling in a run yet. Since I don't think I've really finished a race great. I haven't finished too many bad, but that's probably the best I've finished a race, and that's probably my one goal now is that I really want to do is get to a marathon and finish that last 8K strong or quicker than I did the first lot of it anyway. Yeah.
Some people may not realize, but you've set up the social track club in Tamworth, which is huge, and there's a lot of people doing it, which is fantastic. Um, I wonder if that's your motivation, so that you can grab some people from social track club and they can catch you in a marathon with 8Ks to go and help push you along.
Yeah, definitely. It would be handy to have the group there in the last 8Ks for sure. I think too, like in saying that recent 100K that I ran, that's obviously a highlight in running for me.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult day. I once again didn't. I hate talking about negative experiences with running, and I didn't have the greatest lead up to it. But to sort of the day itself was probably the best part of running I've ever experienced. Whether the 100K running for me probably wasn't, but the actual event was one of the best things I've been involved in.
Yeah, just the camaraderie and all that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, on that point, what's one of the lowest points you've had in a race, or that's been a struggle?
I haven't had too many bad races, to be honest, like really bad races. Like I know I've talked a little bit negative about my last 2 marathons, but one thing I am grateful for, I've gone into a lot of races trained well, and I think I've bridged that gap between really good and really bad. I don't have a lot of really bad races, so that's something I'm grateful for, and there's no real standout there for me.
That's good. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's brilliant. So, other than the races that you've talked about, Canberra Marathon, Armidale, Trailblazer, is there any bucket list race that you would really, like to get a ticket to go into?
Not particularly. I think for me, it's ticking off this goal in the marathon. I definitely want to. I've kind of got a bit of a goal I'm working towards, which I've spoken with you about before, and I'm happy to share it. But I'm kind of, like I said before, my body hasn't been in a great sort of place over the last 18 months, and I've been working on that. But definitely, my goal is to do a multi-day run, not all the way across Australia, but from a location in Australia back to Tamworth, over quite a few days. So I'm kind of working towards ticking this marathon goal off. Hopefully do a backyard ultra to see if I really do enjoy that endurance side of running, and then the end goal is to do this multi endurance day. But in terms of racing, there's not really anything I'm looking forward to in racing anymore.
Oh, that's cool. I think you really like the backyard ultra format. It's
Yeah,
a little
definitely.
it's a bit like the Trailblazer, but obviously condensed. 6.7 loop as opposed to 15. But you get that ability to refuel, restock, and for some people that seems to work really, really well, which is
Yeah, I think that'll definitely suit me for sure. I enjoy stopping on long runs, taking photos and whatnot, and I don't find it too hard to get going again. So I think the backyard ultra will suit me, and a lot of that distance doesn't scare me. What scares me is the pressure of sort of racing to a time or keeping a pace over distance, and that's probably what I've struggled with in marathon. Is it's distance and it's trying to stick to a pace. Where I think the idea of running 160 to 240 kilometers doesn't really scare me without the pressure of time. So yeah, I think backyard ultra is definitely where I'm suited and definitely where I'm headed. But there's a few goals to tick off before I go there.
absolutely. Yeah, we'll see up at Dead Cow or Sydney Backyard or Coughs.
Yeah,
There's there's three nasty ones.
we'll see how you go in a few weeks' time, and I might have changed my opinion on this multi-day running idea.
Oh mate, don't judge it on me. I'm just going to barely scrape my butt over the Sahara Desert, and that'll be me done. So no, you do a much better job of it than I would. Trust me. Alrighty. A couple other quick questions. What now that you're a very old man, obviously, not as old as me, but you're getting on in years there, young Nashy. What sort of advice would you give yourself, 10 years ago or something?
Um, I think just to probably just take time with training and not sort of force things to happen. I think I'd probably rather set a much more kind of steady base around things and not kind of force results, if that makes sense. I think that's something I've really learned in the last few years is you can get quite fit and get quite good results through doing things consistently. Where I probably went
Yeah.
after things a little bit too hard and didn't keep that consistency early on. But yeah, I don't think things need to be incredibly heroic all the time. And I used to kind of chase that a lot. And it's hard not to do when you got people like David Goggins and whatnot around in the world saying, that's how you got to go about things. But you can get good results just chipping away quietly and not thrashing yourself all the time. And yeah, I'd probably change that really.
Mate, I wish we'd had this conversation about 30 years ago for me. Just saying. I probably should have listened to that back then.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. I love it. And then for Trailblazer, what would be your couple of tips? I mean, you said about racing to effort. Anything else in terms of gear or nutrition? Like you said, for the 60K, you just basically put whatever calories down your throat and ate like a pig. But um, anything else that you think might be useful for the race? Just giving some advice to other guys that might be listening in.
I think taking your time at the start of the race is a pretty big one with Trailblazer. Um, it's you sort of go up the hill straight away. That first kilometre isn't easy, and it can be sort of pretty easy to elevate your heart rate quite quickly, and that's going to come back to bite you later on in the race. So I think taking that first little section just nice and easy and building into it will definitely set you up for success later on in the race. Take your time at the transition sort of area after each lap if you are doing multi laps. Get the right things that you need, fuel properly, and head out. Like I just think, yeah, just don't rush the race. Really, it's not a race you want to be frantically taking off at the start, or rushing through to get and missing things when you're getting your nutrition and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. And a bit of a sidebar. Did I see something posted about you were a nominee or on the short list for something to do with Australian something? Could you flesh that out for me a little bit?
Oh, I kept it pretty quiet until my mum found the certificate and sort of hung it up at work. And yeah, anyway, she told me to tell people, so I posted it to Instagram, and yeah, now everyone knows about it. But yeah, I got nominated for Tamworth Citizen of the Year, which pretty cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's was that for your involvement mainly in the sport and the running side of things and that sort of jazz?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think across cycling over the last sort of little bit, and yeah, recently running.
Yeah. Because how long were you involved with the cycling club for? Because I mean, you were president for a while there as well.
Yeah, quite a while. I think. I think probably the last 6 years I've sort of been involved, like obviously since I was a kid. But yeah, I think I got on the committee about 6, 7 years ago, and I was president for the last 4 years until Luke O'Connor took over recently.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, mate, well, that's a great contribution. Um, in saying that, would you say there's any particular challenges for athletes in regional areas at all in terms of sport?
I don't think there is, and I think definitely like it's changing. Like I think there's enough people now in Tamworth to for young people, like especially Jethro, to get the best out of themselves. I think racing's probably the hardest thing. There's no reason why someone like Jethro or Sam Ferguson, young guys, can't do the right training to become a good athlete. But I think obviously, like Jethro as an example, his race tactics are probably where he can improve the most right now, and being able to get in those races consistently is the only thing that's going to improve that. Um, we do have racing at Tamworth, but he's also not really racing against anyone either very regularly, other than Sam. Um, so I think that's probably one side of it. But I don't see living in Tamworth or regional as an excuse not to being a good athlete. But there is parts that you do need to get out there and to learn.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. You're right. I mean, Jethro's parents would probably like to be sponsored by some petrol company with how much travel they do to get him to different races across the state. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's why we've set up races in regional areas, isn't it? So some local stuff, which is really, really good.
Yeah, and I think too we can get caught up in really basic training. Like there's a lot out there on like science of training at the moment, but I think part of coaching and part of training can be setting up race simulations or different things that happen in races to improve. And I don't think a lot of us do that. It's very like structured training where things pop up in races and you need to know how to handle them. And I think doing stuff like that with Jethro can make a big difference.
You're right. When I used to coach 1500-meter runners, I used to have a special code that if I blew the whistle a particular way, they had to drop down, give me a push up, get back up, and keep running. Um,
Yeah,
and some of the other coaches thought I was completely nuts. And then one time, Sophie Heaney was at state titles and somebody clipped her and down she went. She got straight back up and I think she made it onto the podium. And somebody said to her
yeah,
afterwards, gee, you just jumped up and kept going. She said, yeah, we do that in training all the time. So, just trying to
yeah,
build that bit of resilience. And as you say, that specific stuff going, well, if there's a chance it'll happen, we might as well train for it.
yeah, definitely.
Mm. No, mate, look, it's been great spending the night interviewing you today. Thanks for taking the time out of your hectic schedule in Homebush to speak with us. Abby and myself and the Trailblazer team really appreciate your time with us. And, mate, we wish you all the best with your goals this year. Look forward to seeing that kick-ass marathon time and at Trailblazer. And then I might get you to come to MDS with me in a year or two. We might go to the Sahara together next time.
Maybe. No, thanks for having me on, and thanks for putting the race on. It's it's definitely a fun race every year, and I hope more people from other towns can come and experience that. There's never anything bad to say about that race or negative on the day. It's always such a fun day to be around and hang around for the whole day. So, yeah, looking forward to it this year. Like I said, I'm not sure what I'll be racing, but I'll definitely be there because it is fun.
Mate, whatever distance you do, we'd love to have you. There's no judgment from our side.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nashy. See ya.